Hey everyone, Daniel Lowry here, back with another episode in our Learning Python series. That is right. We know it, we love it. We want to continue learning the Python stuff. And today we're going to add some really cool functionality to this thing. We're going to use this lovely mechanism called match and case. That's going to allow us to make some much needed improvements to our script. At least it's going to expand its capabilities, as it were, to curtail to the user, give them options, which if you know me, I love options. Options are always so nice. So how are we going to do that? What are we going to do? Let me kind of paint the picture for us real quick. What I want to be able to do is take command line arguments, which we already do, but we only take one, right? We just take in the URL. What if I also wanted to take in the login names file? What if I also wanted to take in the password file and be able to do all of that from the command line option? But wait, there's more, right? I also want to be able to put them in any order that we see fit. So we're going to have to add some switches, some dash something or others to let the system know, hey, this is that thing, and then this is that thing, and then this is that thing. So we don't have to get too crazy with like regex or anything of that nature. I want to kind of make it easy by saying, here's a flag that lets you know the thing comes after the flag should be this, right? This is the format in which that is in. But if you act now, there's even more. We'll also throw in, right? What else? I'm going to add some refactoring, right? Make that happen. Some colorization, some better output, I think, especially now that the output is getting quite gargantuan in size. We might want to trim that back a little bit and have a little fun doing it. So let's get into the app. It is that time. All right, here is our code. Code is fun. What we need to take a look at here, though, is right around this region, right? This is where we should start, right here at the beginning. We've got this if-else, right? Saying if the length of the sys.argv is greater than 1, then do this. And that's fine. That's a good thing. We wanted to say that. But all that we have underneath that is just this, just target URL. So we're getting our target URL variable from the end user by them just typing it, but they could type in pina colada for all we know, right? That's that won't work. So what we need to, we could get that. That would be a lot. Well, it does error if you give it pina colada. It will tell you, hey, and we can see that, right? We've got this here that'll go, yo, pina colada is not a site. You got to do HTTP, right? It says check your URL. And it'll tell you, hey, you've got an issue, and it even kind of shows you. You got to have HTTP, HTTPS. I should probably do this. Here's our first change of the day. Probably do that to let people know, hey, yo, pina colada, not a site. You got to do the whole thing. It's got to be a well-formed URL. But that's cool. But what about, these things? Login names file and password file. How do we get that here? Now, you would think it would be something as simple as just coming up here and saying, login names file equals sys.argv and 2. And we can do this. This is not doable, right? It is doable. Passwords file equals sys.argv 3. And cool, we could call that a day. Well, this was a good episode, wasn't it? It was fun. But that doesn't fulfill the other part of the solution, right? This only gives me the ability to take in other arguments. And then, of course, we'd have to make some rules, some guidelines for how that works, and errors for if it doesn't. But that's not going to be how we roll today. What we want to use is match and case to give it some flags, right? Tell it if it's a -u, it's a URL. If it's a -L, it's a login file's name, and if it's a -W, it's a word file, right? It's a password file, something like that. It's taking in words for passwords. And so that's not going to cut it. So that's why we're going to use match and case to make that happen. So how we get started with that is really interesting. First off, we actually are going to change this. This is no longer going to be just greater than 1, because greater than 1 is 2, is 5, is 19, is 147. That's not necessarily what I wanted to do. And what if people put too many arguments or they don't put enough arguments? I want to get away from that. I want it to equal the amount of arguments that I'm going to need for this. So let's kind of open up. Let me just do this. A little phlegmy this morning. Fun. Allergies are a great time, aren't they? Where is my Claritin? Well, here's what we're going to basically do. So we're going to have our script name .py or whatever, right? We're going to have a -u for http://URL, right? And then we're going to have a -l for, login names.txt, whatever we want to call it, whatever that is, and -w for passwords.txt, right? This is what we're trying to do on the command line. But what does that tell me here? This is going to be what? Arg v0. And this is going to be 1. This is going to be 2. This is going to be 3. This is going to be 4. Oops, 4. There we go. This is going to be 5. And this is 6. Not 5, 6. All right. So we have 1. Even though it's a 0, it starts counting as right. The first element, it starts counting at 0. It's 0 indexed. Fun stuff, isn't it? Don't you just love it? It never causes confusion or problems when you're coding at all. But yeah, there we go. So this is going to be our first one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 elements that we must have, must be there. If I have less, that's not right. That's no bueno, right? I need 7. So we're going to make it that if there are 7 elements, then we'll start looking at things. If there are not 7 elements, it's just going to jump. It's going to go to the else, right? So we need to change this to say, hey, sys.argv needs to equal, that's just double equals, 7. Because there should be 7 things now. So this all is going to change, obviously, right? Else, do this, run targetURL. But that does bring us to an interesting point. If we're going to take all the elements on the command line, or none of the elements from the command line, then this if-else changes. All this fun stuff right here, cut. Now goes under this block right here. And make sure that you indent. And yes, I know, copying and pasting. You've seen me get in trouble with it before. But whatever. YOLO. I do what I want. You do what you want. And then I'll deal with the consequences when they come. But there it is, right? Because now I'm either taking all this stuff from the command line or I'm taking all this stuff as input from a prompt. And as you can see, this is fairly simple. This is why I love prompting. Prompting, nice. Prompting makes sure that you do not forget anything and the user doesn't have to worry about order, anything. Prompting is so good. I understand why we don't do everything like that, but it's nice to have that as an option. So it's in my code. Now we got to go change this because this is no longer a valid thing. This is not how we're going to work. We have to use match and case to change this. Now, match and case, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to, just in case we want to grab this, I don't have to retype it. I'm just going to cut it. I'm going to go stick it over here in our little scratch pad. of goodness. Control V. There we go. That way, if I need it, I can come grab it again. Because I'm going to cut it out. Where's it at? Oh, did I grab the wrong thing? No. Good. Looked like I did for a second there. Because now I cut it. I thought I copied it. I am losing my mind. Welcome to the show, Daniel. It's a lot of fun to have you here. But now we need to do match case. So I indent and I do match. And what match does is it says, hey, here is a value or something that contains a value, and I need you to match that thing. I need you to take a look, and we're going to do some comparison of that with some other stuff. What other stuff? Well, I'm going to tell you that's where case comes into play. So next to case is going to be the probable or possible values that you might need to match to. If it does match, do this stuff. So it's kind of a really cool way in which if you know what's going to happen or the possibly what could happen, you have that set and it's not too crazy. Keeps you from doing a bunch of if else stuff. If else this, if else that, if else that, if else that, blah, 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 right? Case can kind of be like, hey, if it's this, do all these things. So match these two things together. If they do match, rock and roll. Do the stuff underneath there. I know that's a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, first we need to look at here. What's the first thing I should be matching to? Well, that's sys.argv0. Sys.argv1 is going to be the U. So that's what I want to match to. I want to match to a -u. If it is a -u, then sysargv2 should be a URL. And we're going to assume that that is true. And then we're going to match sys.argv3, and the next thing, sys.argv4, should be a text file. Same thing with -w, which also should be a text file, and this is what you should be doing with it. And what we should be doing with it is taking these values, the ones that are right after each one of these argument flags, these values should be put into a variable. You knew it. That's right. So we got to put all this stuff, whatever is getting passed from the command line needs to get passed to a variable. And of course, those variables need to line up with their respective variable name, right? So I can't just, it's got to know where does that go. So I got to also slap it in because we're using targetURL. We're using login names file. We're using password file down here. It's expecting this, right? There's login names file. That is going to feed to login names. That's how we open those files. So we have to get that input either from the command line or from the prompt. So if it's not being prompted, it needs to match sys.argv1, right? Which is going to be our -u, or it could be a -l. It could be a -w. It could be any one of those things. That's what case and match is going to do for us, is it's going to have basically a little fun little if statement that if it is this case, then do this. If it is that case, then do that. If it, right? So match. So we put what we want to match to. So this is the thing we're matching. So whatever is in sys.argv1, don't forget your colon at the end, indent case. Bam. And then tell it what to match to. So if it matches to -u, like so, don't forget to put another one of these fun little things, right? It's always a good time had by all. If that is how it matches, then what do? Right? That's how this works. Well, I want to, it doesn't, it does have to be indented. I need to target URL equals, right? Just like what we're taking here. Bing. And that's going to be whatever sys.argv2 is, because that's the next value after that. That should be. So sys.argv2. Haha, fun stuff. Okay, so now we need to do that for all of our possibilities. And that gives us that is what's going to give us the ability to say, it doesn't matter whether it's a U or an L or a W. You can just look through, and whichever one of these things it matches, that's what you do. Match case, right? Here's the case. Just in case it's a U, that's how I like to think about it, right? Match this thing, and just in case it's a U, just in case it's a W, just in case it's a this, whichever case it may be, do the thing that it corresponds to. It's kind of a comparison little function, right? So let's finish it out. Case, we're going to say what, -L, and don't forget your colon there, and then we're going to make that login names file equals sys.argv. What's it going to be? It's going to be 2. Hopefully you knew that. That would be good if you were like, oh yeah, I totally get this. And the same goes for case W, right? Colon login name, no, not login names files. This will be password file. Passwords file equals sys.argv2, right? And the reason they're all 2 is because I'm saying basically right after script, whatever that is, I want to be able to be prepared to do it, right? So if it is a U, then sys.argv2 is going to be a URL. If it is an L, then sys.argv2 is going to be a text file. If it is a W, then I'm going to expect it to be a text file as well. And those files are going to correlate to, so we don't have to worry about the URL because it doesn't go into a file, but it does correlate to that variable name of target URL. And now I can use target URL. It is filled out. It has input. It has a value inside its Tupperware, right? Same goes for password files. Same goes for login names file. That's what we're doing. We're filling that out. So it should be that 1 and 2 kind of go together. Cool. Now, there is also what if someone does something that I don't expect? Case space underscore colon. This is, hey, you didn't account for this, right? Because if I'm an end user, I can put in -J, I can put in avocado, and it will go, hey, that's nice. I like avocados as much as the next guy. But in this context, that don't make no sense. So, yeah, what do you want me to do? This don't make no sense. The user did something I wasn't expecting. Cool, that's what this is for, right? That's what this underscore is for. And we can tell it to do whatever we want. And maybe what we want to do is, heck, we'll just give it a prompt and say, hey, this is invalid. That's not what we're working with. And now I'm thinking about, okay, well, I want to make it look good. So I'm just going to kind of start printing. So I'm going to print, maybe I need to give it a space, basically just kind of giving it a space. And then I'll print out I'll give it a line. Nice long line. Booyah. And then I'll print the actual, like, hey, this is a real problem. I'll use my fancy print for that. So I'll say like invalid option like that, and maybe do a little bit of this, and then we'll give it whatever. Let's reflect back to the user what they put so they can see this is the problem. Invalid option, maybe even like that's, what I can do, because that don't look like what we normally do. We normally do this kind of stuff. Make it all uniform, Daniel. Make it right. Invalid option, and then tell it what the options were. So it's going to be sys.argv1. Close that out. And then I guess sys.argv2 would also might want to bring their attention to that. So we'll do that as well. Sys.argv2. Close it. Close it. Looking good. I think that looks good. And then we'll give it another line, kind of like it's nice and bolded out. You know what I mean? Let's see here. Bang. We will copy what we did up ahead. And, ooh, Daniel had a typo. Tried to get away from me, didn't you? Not going to happen. And then I'll just print another. You're like, Daniel, you're doing a lot of printing there. I'm just trying to make it look good at the end of the day. And I don't want to have to worry about other forms of how we can keep it from indenting if we were using a multi-line. So this is fine. I'll do a little bit of typing. No big deal. It's quite readable, though, I think. Okay, so we have all that. And now we've checked for the first option. There are two other options, right? The only thing this actually covers right here is this. We also need to do this and this. And basically the same kind of thing. So whatever is going to be in 3, right, is going to affect whatever comes after. It's going to be 4, right? So 4 so 3, we're going to look at 3 because that's going to be one of our flag cases. And so basically what I can do, and I know, but it's going to save us a lot of typing. You type this. I won't. I will do this myself. I will copy. You type. I won't type because video will be 6 hours long. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to paste it in. Daniel, what have you done? Yeah, this gets you in trouble. This gets you in real trouble, but that's okay. So I'm going to make that 3, and I'm going to turn these into 4s. And then we'll discuss why that's how that works. All right, change those to 4s. Change this to 3. Change that to 4. Okay, so I copy pasted. Normally that's a big fat no-no, but it did save us a lot of typing time, and we've seen my typing skills. They are not the greatest on earth. So what we're saying now is whatever is in sys.argv3 needs to match the case U or L. Ooh, Daniel, you got stinking type O's. That means I got to go fix that. See, it's early in the morning, kiddos. It's early in the morning. I have not got my tackling fuel in me quite yet. But there we go. That should change things for the whole better. I always love seeing that. But here we go. So whatever's in sys.argv3, which will be either a -L or it'll be a -U or it will be a -W. I just have this in this order. This could be in a different order, right? We could do script _name.py -L login names or whatever. .txt, right? That could be that way. And that would be 1 and 2. And then 3 and 4 would be so on and so forth. You get the idea. I want any order possible, which is why we're doing this. Okay, so if it's a -U, it will take it in from sys.argv4. So the next value right after that on the command prompt, the next position on the command line should be that. Same for case of L, same for case of W. And we're filling out and doing the same thing. If not, you get an invalid. Cool. We're going to do this one more time because we got another set to match with. Copy. Oh, I guess I still have it copied. And paste. But here we need to come over and change that to 5, right? Because our pairs are 1 and 2 go together, 3 and 4 go together, and 5 and 6 go together. So we'll be changing this to 5 and 6. We've got 5. This will be 6. This will be 6. This will be 6. This will be 6 right here. And that will be 5. Bam. Booyah. All right. So we've checked a few things. I'm just in my mind making sure all this is going well. Let's look at our code. I think this should work. So it should be taking, okay, so it's going to check to make sure that there are 7 arguments. If there is not 7 arguments, then this will not apply and it will jump to else and we will be prompted. Okay, cools. And everything else is the same. If it does apply, if there are 7 arguments, it is going to check for position 1, match the case to whatever that is in, and then fill out our variable names with the next value in the sequence. Do the same thing starting with 3. Do the same thing starting with 5, with their corresponding variable of values coming from the positional arguments that come immediately after. Wow, this is fun. This is a lot of logic for us today. All right, I feel like we're in a good place to test. If all goes well, we should be able to either just fire the script name off and get prompted, or fill out the values on the command line and in any order, and it should run. If we use a switch or a case that it's not expecting, it should give us an error and let us know where the error is. Fingers crossed, kids. Let's save this. And remember, we're going to rev this one because we have made some changes. So file save as, I'm just going to call this, we were on 8. This one's going to be 9. Brute force V9. The best of all the brute forcers. Save that. Okay. Let's jump into a terminal. We should have brute force V9. There it is. chmod that monkey plus X and brute force dash V9. Here we go. / brute force dash V9 dot py. All right, let's see if it just works for the prompting stuff. So far, so good. So http :// make sure we didn't break anything. 168.1.163 / bwap / login.php. Getting the file's name, which is usernames.txt. Yep, there it is right there. Cool. Fire that off, and then passwords.txt. And it works. Dang, that's a lot of output. And we have success. Cools. Okay. Let's see here. Now we got to put the command line arguments on the command line itself. So I will pull that back up. So brute force v9.py, and then we're going to do it. Let's just start with the standard way in which we think it should work. URL http ://192.168.1.163 bwap / login.php. Then we'll give it a -l for usernames.txt and a -w for passwords.txt. Cool. I guess I should have went with a -p, but whatever. We got W for words because a lot of tools I know use a -w for dictionary files. All right, go. Oh, we got a problem. Okay. Line 75, passwords file is not defined. All right, there's our error. What did we get? -w, invalid option -w. I probably made a coding error there, didn't I? So let's see here. Passwords file. And what was the line that it came from back from? Oh, that's not where I wanted to go. I want to go here. This is in line 75. Pass file. Okay, line 75. What's going on with line 75? Passwords file. Okay, print these out, which it should do. Why are we not getting passwords file? What did I do wrong when it comes to passwords file? It all looks correct. Passwords file equals passwords file equals passwords file equals there, which we know works because we ran this block of the code, but it doesn't work here. And it does say that we have it. Copy paste gets you every time. I told you not to. I told you to type it out. I told you, but you didn't listen. Oh no, I'm talking to me, by the way, not you. I should have done it, but I wanted to save some time. Okay, I saved it. Things should work now. Hopefully, let's rerun that code. Let me clear the screen. Let's try that. All right, here we go. Now it should work. Bing. Oh, heaven. Yay. We're not done testing yet, but this is why we test, right? Because I had some typos. I'm going to fix some typos. We now need to jank up the order. Let's jank up the order here. Okay, so we've got, let's remove -w passwords from here. And let's put it at the front, and we'll put URL in the middle and login names at the end. So -w passwords.txt. Let's see if this runs. Hey, looking good. That is a lot of output. Okay, before we, okay, we'll keep testing and then we'll come, because I don't want to lose my order here. All right, let's try another order. I'm going to clear again because I like that at the top of the screen. Let's take out usernames. Whoa, PHP, a little too far backed up. Let's put that at the beginning. And now we're completely inversed almost, -l, what was it? Usernames.txt. And everything is working. One more test, and then we'll this is starting to get, this is too much. Let's do one more test, which is, what if I change that URL to I don't know, K? We don't have a -K. What if I did that? Right. It said not defined. Target URL is not defined. And it does say, haha, it worked. Right there. It says, hey, you got an invalid option, my friend. -K. That ain't going to work here. Right? Now, you might want to take a look at that there, my friend. And yeah, so that's totally cool. It didn't hit on this because that is properly formatted. It's just saying, hey, I don't have this defined well because it never took anything in, right? We don't have a case for -K. Password files only gets filled out in this way if it is a -W, right? So that did not get a value. Hence the reason the script said, whoa, did you know that target URL is not defined? You should probably look into that. So that's cool. That works. And I actually kind of like this feedback. And I would, in real life land, I would probably leave that in because it's nice and verbose. And we have our own kind of feedback as well, letting us know, hey, right here, buddy. Psst. In case you were wondering, -K is not an option. You flippin' moron. Right? I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. I don't use K. Ks aren't here. So, cool beans. That means, well, hey, all our case stuff works. Let's clean up a little bit because all that output we got, ugly. That's just too much. Let's drop down here. Let's change that. Hey, you know what else I'm going to do is, we don't really need this anymore, so I'm going to remove it. That's old and busted. No longer necessary. But let's see here. This trying creds thing is a bit much. So, and yes, I think that, let's try something. I got a feeling. Let's just remove the W. I don't think this is going to do what I want it to do, but I want to test it. So let's take that out. Let's just see what that does. I'm taking that W out. It might work, but I'm not 100% sure. Let's just rerun something that actually works. Yeah, that's what I thought. You see, it's still too much. What I want to do is I need to move this. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to comment that out, and I will type it in, because copying and pasting has already got me in trouble one time this episode. I shall not allow it again. So I need to move this. This is in the wrong spots. And you'll find out why here momentarily. So let's start with the top of this try block. For name in login name. So we're taking the first item out of the login names variable. We're stripping things off the front and back of it. And I think that this is where our print should go. Let's just say, hey, here's what we got. When scripts top to bottom, think that logic on your way down. There is sometimes when it doesn't work necessarily that way. We'll get to that. But for the most part, that's how this goes, and that's how you should kind of default think, top down. So when we look at this code, top down, I've got this value in. I've done all this work to get it. All right, grab the first thing out of login names. Let's call it name. Let's strip any leading and trailing characters off of name, and we'll call it N. And now I just have that value. Since I've already got it and that's what I want, I don't want the password that it's using. Let's just put it here, right? Because that's in a logical order. So we'll fancy print that. And we'll say, trying, what did I put down here? Oh yeah, don't forget my little block of stuff. Not that. I like a star, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's what we were using before. Yeah, that's what we're using before, a star. So we'll use a star, and we'll say trying username, bing, and then we're not getting too crazy here, so we'll do n, yeah. And that's all I need. I just want to know what username we're working with at this point. That's the change stuff. Okay, so I am going to save that. Control S. Let's rerun our script, test that functionality, and let's see how it looks. Oh yeah, see, this is nicer, right? Look at that. That's so much nicer. Now, can the username file get pretty hefty as well? It's possible. It can, but it's a whole lot less output than both the username and the password that's iterating through. And password files tend to be quite large. So for our little demonstration purposes, that works really well. That's not too much output. And this is looking pretty. This is a little janky. Look at all the space I got going on in here. Let's fix that. And you know what? This has a little too much space. I only need one. So let's fix that too. So let's squeeze this in a little bit. All right, first off, let's start up here. Let's take this new line out. Let's just do that. Control S. Let's see how that looks. Rerun the script. Yeah, that looks better than what we had before. I think we only have 2 spaces now, where I think we had 3. Yeah, that's better. Okay. But we could still tighten up, right? We could still tighten. Let's look for some spacing. As we've changed our code, the output has gotten a little bit different. So we are looking for spaces. Oh yeah, you know what? I can remove these, and I don't need that anymore. That's fun. Get some of all this business out of there. Don't need that. Printing here. You know what? We got some space here. Maybe we take that one out. Let's try that. Control S. Let's run it. See how that looks. Just press up and enter. Okay, did that tighten? Yeah, that tightened things up a little bit, right? Yep, it took one space out. We still have a space above, so let's take that out, which I think is right here. Let's just do that. Control S. That should look a whole lot better. Oh, yeah. That's money. That's way better. I like that. Like how this looks. And then one more thing. I know this is a longer episode, but it's just going to be kind of fun. Little cherry on top of this episode. Let's add some color. Let's add some pizzazz. If you want to know how to do this, let's open up a browser. Let's go to Google. And let's ask it about ANSI color escape codes. And then we're going to go to Wikipedia. In Wikipedia, it shows you these ANSI escape codes, right? And this is kind of our standards for in-band signaling to control cursor location, color, font styling, and other options on the video text terminals and terminal emulators, which is exactly where we're playing around in. History, and yeah, feel free to read this at your leisure. But what I'm looking for is the colors. And we can find scrolling. Color. Bing. The original specification only had 8 bits and just gave them names, so on and so forth. These are the foreground. I don't know if you can actually see this very well. I'll try to make that look better. Where did it run? It ran somewhere. I love when it does this. Well, that's fun. Where is my colors? All right. Well, we're working with this. We have foreground, we have background, right? And there's the code. So we've got 30 and 40. So if I wanted to do black, it would be 30 and 0, right? If I want to do red, it'll be 31 and, well, I don't even, right? Yeah, I think that's how that works. 31, yeah, because 31 is going to be red. Let me show you how to do this. And this will make a whole lot more sense, even to me. Sometimes I got to just type it in, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, that's how you do this. So let's say we want to color our success, right? I want this whole thing right here to just be in red. What I would do is /33, and then you open, and you would give it, well, if I want the foreground, it would be, right? Let's see here. Where'd it go? Right here. If I want the foreground, that is that. So yeah, 33. I think that's the escape code for the red foreground. I'm trying to remember this. Maybe we'll do the background instead. Let's do the background instead because I think that'll pop a little bit more. Yeah, this is always a little weird. Don't get me wrong. But it's just, like I said, a little bit of fun here. Let's do the background instead. So what I'll do is 43, and then you have to give it the code, which is, what was it? 40. What was it? What was 46? My mind is escaping me today. Red is 41. Cool. So this is how this goes. 41. I will put 41 there like that, and then you put M because this is the way it's formatted. I think it shows you that. So yeah, there it is. Like this. Escape 30, so on and so forth. Right? There's a lot to it. Like I said, you would need to read this article, but I'm just going to kind of give it to you. You don't have to worry about knowing how to do this. I just thought it would be fun. And then I'm going to have to change it back to black. So 33, open, I think it's 0M. Yeah. And that will be black. Okay. So if we save that, this success now should be red colored. Let's see if that works. Running through it. And hey, look at that. We get a little red colorization there. So ultimately, all I did was put those values, and anything between it is going to be red. So kind of follows. It's a weird thing. I know. I'm poorly explaining this. Let me kind of get down in here. Basically, the way it goes is like this. You start off with a /33, letting you know, hey, we're doing some colorization, and then you open brace or square bracket, I guess it is. Yeah, I think it's square bracket, and then you give it the color code, which in our case was 41. Okay, and then anything that comes after that is going to get that red color. I want to go back to black afterwards, so I have to do /33 0M. Oh, I forgot the M over there. Yeah, this has to be an M. So there you go. That is how that goes. You can put spaces in there if you want better readability, but it will have a space in front and back that is colored, whatever color this is, right? So /33, open brace, color code with an M behind it, and then to shut it off, to go back to a black colored terminal background or foreground, whatever it is you're doing, change it back, which is fun. You have to close it out. You know, it's kind of like a closing. There's like bookends going on there. So there you go. Well, heck, kids, we did some fun today. I know this was a bit of a longer episode, but there was a lot to do. We had to troubleshoot some stuff. So what are you going to do? These things happen. We are going to have to come back and refactor, though, because guess what? People can still break this. You can still mess this up, and we need to account for that. We need to make sure that, like, what if the end user wanted to give all -U's? Well, guess what? There's a case for that, right? There's a case for -U. It will continue to change that value, and then the value that's in the other things will never get set, and we'll have problems. So I need to be able to tell the end user or force the end user into not using multiple -U's, multiple -L's, multiple -W's, right? Because Right now, our code can do that, and it'll break. Like, let me just prequel for that for you here real quickly. Let's say this passwords was not a -w, but it was a -u. What would happen? Breaky time, right? All of a sudden, passwords file is not defined. And guess what? This is. Other things are. Passwords files didn't get defined, but the URL got set to like passwords.txt. That ain't working. But it errored out before because it's already saying, hey, I've got a variable that doesn't have a value and it needs it. I need that value because you're trying to use it right here where you got this lovely little print statement, right? So it's going to error. So I need to, and we need to, what am I saying? We need to be able to say, it's a nice to have to be able to put these in any order in which you wish, but with that comes a coding price, and the piper is here and needs to be paid. So that will be in our next episode. And guess what? That's going to be a lot of logic. It's going to be, but that's going to make us get into things like creating functions and a lot of other stuff. This is going to be fun. So definitely join me back so we can see how we can fix this type of issue and learn some new things about Python. Thank you for joining me, everyone. I appreciate you watching. I really do. It's not like, I'm not just saying that. I hope you're learning. I really do. I really hope you're learning stuff. I hope this is fun for you. It's fun for me, even though it can get a little mind bendy. And come back for that next episode. Let's see how we can twist our brains and learn something new about Python and that sucker. That ought to be a good time. Until next time, everyone, keep hacking.